Welcome to Baseball Biz. Today is January 13th, 2022. And what's important about that day? We'll tell you in just a minute. I'm Mark Carbage, your host, and with me, of course, is Brandon Noway, the co-host of Baseball Biz. Hey, Brandon, how you doing today, man?
I ain't doing half bad. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well, my friend. I was hoping to get Matt Germain on here today, but I know he's got a lot of things cooking. Maybe we'll get him on here soon as well. I emphasize today being Thursday, January 13th, 2022 for a very particular reason. We've been in 40 plus days in lockout now. And by that, I mean, MLB said, guess what? We're not going to have any talks. We're not going to have anything going on with the players. There's going to be no association with them, no talking with them until today. And you tell me, but as far as I understand, the lockout is still in effect. It's just now that MLB says, hey, we got some ideas we want to talk to the Players Association about.
Yeah, this is the first time that they've really talked since they've had that like 7-minute meeting back. Was it maybe a little bit after Thanksgiving they had that? So it's the first time they've really talked since then. And I also saw this morning and I mentioned it to you. And this comes from Dusty Wagner on Twitter, which Sarah Sanchez retweeted, so shout out to her. That it's funny because MLB is still drug testing players during the lockout, and they can't talk to rehabbing players. The teams can't, but MLB can still drug test them. So that's something interesting that we discovered this morning.
Well, that's interesting because, I was looking at a lot of articles earlier on when all this first started and saying what would happen and what wouldn't happen. And the consensus was, well, drug testing, that probably won't be going on right now. And I don't know whose benefit that is except to the owners to have it right now. I mean, why would I even talk to you if you're not even going to let me play or maybe not be ready for spring training or anything else? Why would I have drug testing with you? I can't see it if I was a player.
Yeah, I mean, we can't take care of you and help you get better, but we'll drug test you.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. If these teams are not going to be taking care of players, especially those who are in the middle of a rehab, and I'm talking about either through surgery or something else, then this other step just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But it seems indicative of the way MLB and Rob Manfred like to do business.
Yeah, and we talked more about that a couple weeks ago, actually maybe a month ago, close to at this time, when Sarah Sanchez joined us again. So you can go back and listen to that if you want to hear us talk more about it.
Yeah, Sarah's always on point. I'm so glad we do get a chance to talk with her. She has a pretty good insight. So check that out. Check out her Bleed Cubby Blue podcast as well. Now that we've given a tip of the hat to her, I want to also talk about a few things I was listening this morning. Was it with Jim Bowden, with CBS MLB analyst. And he was talking about the proposal today and what he's been hearing from insiders. And this is what he heard, that the MLB has actually put together a proposal that they want to present to the Players Association today. That doesn't sound like, hey, let's sit down and talk. This is, hey, this is our proposal. And from my understanding, there's no new offers as far as, I guess how many years before a player can achieve free agency. That's not part of it. But what they are saying is, hey, we will offer universal DH. Oh, Brandon, help me, please. Help me. Universal DH. Yes, it should be there. You know what? It benefits you guys as much as the players. And if I'm in the Players Association and that's a point you think that I need, I'm either going to laugh or I'm going to say, you know what? Just go ahead and take care of the DH. Just remove it from the American League while you're at it, and we'll be done with it.
I mean, I don't understand why the DH needs to be thrown in there when they could easily just put it in the rules. They easily could have kept it going into last year, but it just seems like one of those, like, we'll throw people a bone thing. Looks like we're doing something productive.
That's exactly it. I mean, and one of the other things that Bowden said that they were going to have in that proposal is that they were going to increase initially they had, I don't know what the number was, what they would do as far as minimum wage for people, for Major League Baseball players, and they were going to increase that. Step in the right direction. So don't even kid us about the DH thing. It's not even worth talking about.
It's baby steps with this league.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, it has slowed everything down. Now, to the average baseball fan, none of this matters right now. But to guys, for you all who are listening to us right now, obviously it does. But they're not going to worry about it until the first day of spring training, or maybe not even worry about it till opening day of the regular season. But we know for those things to happen, this CBA has to be pretty much tied up, I would think, no later than the very beginning of February.
Yeah, we've talked about this. MLB's lucky that, average sports fan doesn't really care right now because they're wrapped up in football. And college football just ended and the NFL's getting ready to start their playoffs. So they're kind of running out of time there. And I think we kind of agreed that the key time where they need to be really closing in is the Super Bowl. Isn't that kind of like the artificial deadline you and I agreed with?
Yeah, I believe that was a very good choice on your part. And something that non-baseball fans can actually put a pin on and say, oh, yeah, I know when that is. But yeah, I think that's a good point. So we'll see what happens there. To me, it's still very vague. In, like you said, the proposal is supposedly going to come today, Thursday, January 13th. But right now, we're all kind of just sitting and waiting. So the hot stove, which was cooking like crazy until that deadline was imposed, is the no stove right now. No matches, no gas, no nothing.
It was like Hell's Kitchen for about 48 hours there. Is that flurry we were kind of expecting, and then it went cold. You shut it down.
You nailed it. You nailed it, brother. Oh, gosh. But so, I've been... All right. Media guys have to try to find something for people who are interested in baseball this time of year to put up there. I mean, normally they would have hot stove stuff up there. There would be conversations on MLB Network with players. There would be all kinds of great things to be intrigued with, but that hasn't been the case. So what's popping up on the baseball news? I'm seeing, some international signings. I'm seeing retirements. I'm seeing minor league signings. Now, what's interesting to me is I thought, well, Brandon, are we seeing more of those? Are people making more movements in these directions? Because they're thinking, well, I may not have a year to play. I mean, maybe I'll go play for an international league or some other league that's not MLB this year.
That is a possibility. I wouldn't rule that out. And we could also be seeing it because there's nothing happening at the major league level. So they're thinking, let's keep the news cycle going in some way, because it might not be the articles that generates the most clicks or the sexy headline, but we just got to keep the news cycle rolling.
And I think that's it. I know I've talked to some other insiders, and they said, Mark, as far as doing deals right now, obviously that's kind of at a standstill, but these other things, not really seeing that these retirements, that there's more of them. It's just that they're getting more media attention. And so I get that. That's probably true than they were seeing of international signings. But what additionally intrigued me, Brandon, was the minor league signings. This past week, what was it? I think just the other day, I was looking at the Rays pitcher Chris Mazza. He is that how you say his name properly? Mazza?
I believe it's Mazza.
Mazza.
I believe.
Sort of like pasta. Okay. So anyway, getting back to what I was going to say, is that Chris Mazza was just signed with the minor leagues with the Rays. This guy who was playing for the Rays, the major league level, has signed with a minor league team of the Rays. What does that mean? I mean, obviously, there is a trade going on. I thought, well, first, that can't happen. And obviously, I was wrong. But what that means is there could be a minor league season. And players that you would normally think of as being on that major league team could be, I don't want to say this, there could be a minor league season even if there's not a major league season. And you say, well, those minor league teams, is that going to be sort of like, crossing a picket line? And the answer to that is no, with a caveat. And the caveat is this, that those players playing in the minor league could not be on the 40-man roster of the major league affiliate parent. Does that make sense?
So I think it makes sense to me, but I'll just double check. So for the minors, it's almost business as usual. But if you're like either on the cusp of being in the majors or already in the majors and they're on the 40-man roster, you're not eligible. It's everybody else that isn't.
Yeah, and that's what I was finding because I was looking at I'm seeing signing after signing on these minor leagues, and the reason I'm seeing it is because there's no major league news. So yeah, but part of me said, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" But yeah, that's exactly it. So, and maybe we'll have a minor league season. I hope we have both, but you certainly will bring attention to it. And I think this is the way it worked too during the 94-95 strike. Let's see what else we got here. So right now we're talking about the schedule ahead. Mid-February is usually when spring training camps open, and I think actually February 26th is when the true spring training begins. Opening day is March 31st. So they got a little time to work, but I would say they need to have this thing hammered out by March 1. Excuse me, by February 1st would be my hope. But who knows?
And it's already the 13th at the time of recording. So, I mean, just the way the calendar's been going lately, it's going to be February 1st before we know it.
Yeah, it's ugly. It's ugly. So, all right, guys, I know it's difficult. Seems like the two-party system who can't agree with one another, find compromise. Find a compromise for your friends, the fans, because as much as both of you all should appreciate one another, talk about owners and players, you need both of those to play the game. You can play the game in front of an empty house if you don't think about the fans first. So there you go. Well, let's take a look a little deeper in the minor leagues then, before we can find a little news. Let's see, Brandon. Oh, the Yankees. The Yankees, they hired Rachel Balkovec. She is their first full-time woman manager for the Tampa Tarpons here in Tampa, which is a Yankees affiliate, I think a single A team. So congratulations to Rachel. But like you and I have said before, it's not so much about, who a person is and all of that, those first. I'm just happy to see her come up to this position. And if you're just saying, well, that's a token position, there can be no token positions. And I would say certainly not with the Yankees. She came into this position. She'd been with the Cardinals, Brandon, for a couple of years, and the Astros as a strength and conditioning coach. They brought her into the Yankees organization in 2019, and she was their minor league hitting coach. This lady, she's earned her cleats. Tampa Tarpons just down the road. We live here in the area. Can't wait to go down and see them. But if you think about it, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, you hit it right on the head. I mean, I think it's a great hire. She has experience in the organization and as a coach. So, and she's younger too. I believe she's only in like her mid 30s. So that'll help her relate to the guys as well. And I agree wholeheartedly. It's not a token hire. And I don't think the Yankees are in the business of doing that because honestly, to me, they seem like one of those organizations like, like the Steelers or the Packers where it's like you have to earn it to be there. And they're in the business of winning. So I don't think it's a token hire. I think it's a great hire, both in all different aspects, marketing, women's rights, and getting into male dominated industries and just sports wise in general because of her background.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing her career, with the Tarpons and elevate over time as well as she should do. But here's interesting too, when you're talking about the Yankees, you remember the Marlins, like you were talking about, brought in Kim Ang. And do you remember where she came from?
Was it the New York Mets?
No, I believe it was I think it was the Yankees, my friend. I think you knew that too. But
I did. I had to throw that jab in there.
That's all right.
Can't give him too much credit.
No. And I mean, she worked with Brian Cashman. She was negotiating deals before she left there. And that's the sort of thing you find talent, no matter who that may or may not be. I mean, you find that talent, that person, and you help raise them up. You don't let them just stay in the station they're at. If they show promise, give them opportunity. And if they get enough opportunity, they'll build their own career, which is like Kim Ang is doing. And I think Rachel, we're going to find doing that as well over time. So congrats to her.
Yeah, and good job with the Yankees for for being, all inclusive and, helping them build up their careers. And here's two women that in the past calendar year earned their way to the spots that they're in and weren't just handed to it for the publicity stunts, like anything like that. They were earned.
So, Brandon, to think a little bit more about the minor leagues, I saw something today. It's a Chicago Cubs affiliate and the Tennessee Smokies. Man, they're getting a new stadium. Well, I say stadium. It's the stadium is 7,000 seats, but there's somebody spending $74 million for a stadium. Now, you know what? That's probably just 10% of what the Rays said they're going to spend in Tampa, but nonetheless, fantastic. I'm glad to hear that for them. And I hear that the owner of the new stadium wants to name the teams. They have to have Knoxville in their name, so it'll probably be the Knoxville Smokies. Hang on. Oh, and look who came into the room. It's Matt. Hey, let's bring him in, man. Welcome, Matt. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, brother. How you doing?
Well, good. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, that's Brandon. Brandon Matt. You can recognize him from his picture there.
my silhouette.
That's it. That's it, man. Yeah, our MLB silhouettes. I had one I was using for a while. Brandon and I have been talking about, what today is, and as far as the first day of getting back to, oh my gosh, MLB's got some core things they're going to show to the MLBPA, and the DH is part of it, and we're so excited about that.
Yeah.
We're so excited. Hey, listen, Matt Germain is joining us here today on Baseball Biz, and we've been talking a little bit about, pardon me, we've been talking a little bit about Major League Baseball, and Rob Manfred said, hey, I'm not unlocking the lockout just yet, but I've got a proposal I want to talk to you guys about. And one of the items is, hey, we might just go along with that DH. It's like, yeah, how about some meat and potatoes, boys? That's not important to us at all. Well, it's important, but it's in the bottom of the scale.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues to solve. So hopefully they get a lot done today.
Well, let's hope so, my friend. I tell you what. But we were talking also a little bit about how even if we didn't have a major league season, which I actually believe we would, but if we didn't, the minor league teams could still have a season. And the only caveat would be that no person on the 40-man roster of a major league team would be able to play on that.
Right. So there's I think there's precedent for that, but I don't know how applicable the way that I figure it with this way that things are playing out this time around, which is completely different than the last time. The last time you didn't have this taking players' pictures off of the sites and the videos, not having access to them, yada, yada, yada. It was a little bit different feel to it all. Whereas, this time around, it seems like they're following everything to the book. And so, yeah, I don't expect anybody on the 40-man at all to be given any leniency to go and play. Like, let's say they're rehabbing or they were signed on a minor league deal, but are still part of the 40-man, then they wouldn't be playing.
Well, Matt, one of the things we've always loved talking with you about is the beautiful, wonderful, fantastic world of the Tampa Bay Rays. And you've done so much research. I know a lot with what they're doing with the minor leagues. Man, this week in Rays baseball, if you had nothing else to talk about in Major League Baseball, there was another affront to a true Ray fan. There was another slap in the face. And I think there was a full-page ad in the Tampa Bay Times with 30 business leaders saying, yes, we go along with this idea of a Twin City Tampa Bay Rays. We endorse it. We're ready and happy and ready to go.
Yeah, and I think you can tell from the fan fallout from that they can say they're okay with everything until whatever time they want, even if it comes to fruition. But the fans are outright just outraged about it, and that's never going to change. I mean, it would be a completely different scenario if right now the franchise was in Vancouver, Canada, and they were talking about giving Tampa a half season to start their foray into Major League Baseball.
Right.
But they've had Major League Baseball now for a long time. They just have never had it in Tampa. And I think that's what the fan outcry is. They want it in Tampa. and they can't understand why the corporate side of it, which is the group that you're talking about, can't get on that page and support it to the point where they're forcing the political hands. And so I've always been of the thought that if the people of influence in Tampa, which includes ex-minority owner of the Red Sox in Vinik, right? And it includes the counselors that support the Yankees and the $40 million that Hillsborough gave to them for their stadium. There's so much AL East in the region, even with Dunedin and the new renovations that they made to that stadium for the Jays. You've got all three AL East foes in the region, and they can get all the millions of dollars from that council, but the Rays apparently can't get a freaking penny from them. And I don't understand what the rhetoric is all about. Either it's pure hatred towards Stu Sternberg and everything he stands for, or it's the fact that they want to keep the piece of pie that they have in Tampa, and they want a piece of it if it does go over. And so they're trying to force Stu's hand to sell it to them and not to the Montreal group. And so then there's the other piece of it, which says, well, there's a lot of fans out there that would argue Stu Sternberg, in one way or another, is trying to make it so unpalatable for either the counselors or for the St. Petersburg side in terms of how much money he's willing to give, or how much money he's demanding, or the terms that he's demanding, that he's envisioning having to move out either way, whether it be to Nashville or Montreal or wherever else. I don't know if I can go to that route, because to me, the market in Tampa has so much potential, just money-wise in terms of TV deals. It's the largest market they can be in. So I don't see what benefit there would be for him other than saving half the cost of a stadium. So if the Tampa Council can somehow come up with half the cost of the stadium, then I think they'll have a deal, because I think that's what he's aiming at. But right now, I don't think they're getting that offer. I don't even know if they're getting a third that's of the coverage that's allowed to be. There's no numbers coming out, but the feeling I get is that they're so unsatisfied, MLB and Stu Sternberg, with the terms financially that they're getting in support from Tampa Council, that it's impalatable for them. They can't do it without having the Stu cover the rest of the money. And he's honestly not that rich. He can't just liquefy everything and pay it all, because he'd be gambling on things that he has no control over, including attendance, corporate support, which we're seeing right now is about half of what it needs to be.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a quick, rundown.
Well, and it's not just Tampa. Brandon, you can talk to this. I mean, there was a guy with a billboard being put up out there in front of the Tropicana. What was that all about, Brandon?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it said, but it was something like, it was like opposing to the split city thing. I don't remember exactly what it said, but I mean,
yeah, I'll tell you what I remember is there was a guy who came down here from Canada, and he was with an organization like taxpayers or Montreal taxpayers who will not endorse the Tampa Bay Rays, will not finance a new stadium. I don't remember the exact name either, Brandon, but I remember that. And he was getting a lot of coverage locally, as you might imagine. And I love the idea that he put the billboard right across the way from the truck.
That guy actually has ties to the Koch brothers, whatever.
Yeah.
So he works for an organization that is supported and funded by them to try to minimize the amount of costs to taxpayers, or the amount of taxpayer money that's going to other things other than what it absolutely has to, because they want to make sure that their taxes stay low. So it's a self-serving endeavor by that organization, and they have no leverage. There's no leverage at all in all of Canada. They've never done anything productive in the history of Canada.
Ooh.
So do not put any weight into that billboard, but it was an attention grabber, and it did, probably drive a lot of messaging that they wanted to get across, basically, which is that they're not supportive of it. But I can tell you from my point of view in Montreal, they're all for it, because, like I said, they don't have a team at all. If you don't have a team at all and you're gaining half, you're going to be more satisfied than somebody that's losing half. So, and the government up in Canada is a lot more supportive in terms of offering some financial aid. They paid entirely for the Quebec Arena without an NHL team in it. So, and they paid for it completely. So if they're willing to do that, then they're willing to pay what they need to in order to help Stephen Bronfman, who has more political weight than anybody in Canada, to get that actually done. So I don't think the Montreal aspect is, but it is disappointing. So as a Montreal person, it is extremely disappointing to know that you have 3 billionaires in that group, and that outweigh Stu Sternberg tenfold in terms of wealth, and they can't come to terms with one MLB team. They have to go for half. Why? Like, what is the deal? You can't convince Major League Baseball to give you a team full time? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and you were talking about fans, and how do fans in Tampa expect fans in Tampa to support it? Because you're talking about how we have so many baseball teams here for spring training in our backyard, and they're like the blue bloods of baseball. It's the Tigers, Yankees, Pirates, Phillies. There's that, and then the other time of year when there's not spring training, you said in a tweet a couple weeks ago, if they did the split city, the season opener would go up against a Lightning playoff run, which the Lightning are like beloved down here. They're probably the number one team. And then if they were to make the playoffs, they would be going into that with no buildup, going up against football, which is big down here as well. So where do they expect the fans to come in and support them?
I think what they're betting on is the guy they just spent $220 million on. They're betting on that draw continuing to bring people in regardless of what they do. I mean, you can look at it this way. Stu Sternberg has literally spit in the face of all Tampa Bay for years, and the team is still good. It's still a valuable product. People still watch it on TV. It's still getting TV deals. So it doesn't really matter what he does going forward. As long as he has a good product on the field, people should, in theory, show up. I know people have said like maybe people from Montreal will go down to Tampa and go to games. During a Lightning playoff run, maybe they'll go to the Lightning and catch a game on the side. I don't know. But it's one of those things where I wouldn't bank on the numbers significantly increasing. But what you will have is that entire crowd in Quebec, 8 million people watching it on TV and watching it religiously. I can guarantee you that. And that is where the money is. It's not in the extra fans you're going to have in the stands. It's in the extra money you're going to sell to in French and English as a TV deal. That's going to be huge money. And my interest in it is, let's say I put a crystal ball and I say, okay, now it happens. It's split city. It's 2 cities, and free agency opens up, and the Rays sign Shohei Ohtani away from the Los Angeles Angels, right? And they give him $400 million. Then what? You're telling me that fans are going to stay out of the stadium? So as long as let's say they do the Sister City and they do spend the money, fans will show up. If they do the Sister City thing and they continue to cheapskate through it, no, I don't think fans will show up at all. I think that'll be the death of it. But there's like a gazillion hurdles to go through before it ever comes to fruition anyway. That way they have like maybe a year or two before they have to break ground on the stadiums. So it is crunch time, and they have to figure it out pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
Oddly enough.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a thought, right? Like if you're signing big names away from the Yankees and other teams, then fan perception is going to change a lot on the whole deal on both sides. Because you're making, if you can turn, and that's why I believe MLBPA will never stand in the way, because you're taking that one franchise and adding hundreds of millions of dollars to what they can spend on players. They're not going to say no to that. They're going to say, hell yeah, give us 2 cities like that, 3 cities like that. We'll be happy. It's more money for them, right? Yes, they have the inconvenience of having, their family follow them or being separate for a little bit longer. But hell, I would do that for an extra 20, 30, 40 million. Yeah. It's not going to break my heart long term. It'll be a little heartache, for a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be a hurdle. But it is an interesting time because in the next year, we should know what will happen.
Yeah, I think the dust will settle. There's the sad part is I think the Tampa Bay fans feel betrayed by Sue. We had all this talk about
betrayed by so many people. Think about it. They're betrayed by Rob Manfred, first of all, whose commissioner status is arbitrary at this point. I don't even know what his role is anymore. He's not a great negotiator. He's not a great vision of the game. He's allowed them to tamper with the ball left, right, and center. So we don't even know what's accurate record and what's an actual record anymore. There's a lot of blame to go around is what I would say.
Yeah. St.
Petersburg the only thing I would say about St. Petersburg is that they allowed the Rays to do the research in Ybor and they actually got close. That was kind of an exciting time. We thought that it was going to get done. So I tip my hat to them for letting that happen. And I think that their reasoning was that if they want to develop the area, they want to get that development done. And it was, if they found a match, then they could get rid of them and develop whatever it is they needed to do in St. Petersburg and get on with it. Sadly, that didn't take place because the coffers, Jeffrey Loria as Mark, you can place a lot of blame on him, but he was enabled by Bud Selig and Major League Baseball and all the other owners. The other owners are to blame because the financial way that Major League Baseball works allows Stu to operate the way he does. And the minority owners didn't speak up early enough when they were selling their shares to Stu Sternberg. And the whole, now they have to sue him and we have to wait to see the fall of that. But I have a feeling that's just a money grab on their part to get a little bit extra piece of the pie before they walk away. I don't know. There's a lot of blame to go around is all I'm saying. And it's a frustrating part. And it all started with a horrible lease. If that lease didn't exist, where would things be right now?
And here's something to remember too. We talk about expansion sometimes as well. And I often thought, well, Vancouver, Montreal, Vegas, those are some that come to mind. But if you're not going to expand, why not take out somebody like the Rays? Why not just go ahead and remove that altogether? I'll tell you what I do like about the Rays organization, whether I like Stu or not, I'm going to keep that to the side, is Eric Neander. But what he does is he doesn't bring excitement to their, by like you say, Shohei Ohtani. He finds and develops talent. People like a Tyler Glass Now that's true. Tyler Glass, we actually found him in Pittsburgh and pulled him in. But there's others that we bring up and you don't really know about. And because we're in a market that doesn't get that much attention, you're not going to get a Shohei Ohtani attention. But okay, that's not fair because there's only one Shohei Ohtani. If we did make some changes to leadership, I think that we would, by that I mean ownership, I think we'd have a more positive vibe with the fans. And Brandon, I know you had some ideas on ownership. What were you looking at with that?
Oh yeah, I saw on your Twitter you're a big Elon Musk guy, so I was thinking a Jeff Vinik, Elon Musk power couple here in Tampa Bay.
I like it. That's awesome. If you go way back, I had a lot of tweets about having Tesla build a stadium with baseball to kind of brand themselves as an American company. Yada yada yada. They own their own stadium. I think it would be pretty good. They could do it off grid.
We're building spaceships or launching spaceships for Tesla right down the road. Hey, you can have it here, maybe Orlando. But I had another idea for the Twin Cities because I thought, okay, we've had those 30 business leaders with a full page ad say what they had to say. Mayor Castor's kind of danced back and forth about it. But I think that I was talking about Vancouver and Montreal. I think there's two Twin Cities. We should look at this. And that is while we have the one in St. Pete, we make the other city Tampa. So we have a stadium in each city, okay? And just for grins and giggles, okay? But we'll say we put I don't think
I could see that actually working. That's the sad part. You would have have them start at the Trop for April and then move over to the Tampa side for May, June. And then,
and think the players, they wouldn't be inconvenienced with travel back and forth with where they were as home team, True. They wouldn't have to sing two national anthems at most of their games. And the other part is just, I know I'm just being crazy, but it would be interesting though, if we had imagined a couple of exhibition games in Tampa and saw with the Rays there, what kind of attraction in an area that's more in the city of Tampa. What would happen?
You can do that, and they've done that in Montreal, right? I've attended those games where they've drawn in Like the last time I was there, it was Vladdy Guerrero and Bo Bichette were playing with the Jays as part of the end of their spring training. And we were 25,000 people on the Monday night, 25,000 people on a Tuesday night to watch the Cardinals and Jays play in Montreal. Like that's a good sized crowd for those nights for, the team that doesn't even belong to you. And then before that, they've done it on weekends, and I was there as 50,000 people each night on a Friday and a Saturday. So that's a way to test the market, and it's a good idea. But I think the Lightning have proven that the market is strong. The same with the Buccaneers. There's nothing wrong with the Tampa market. There's the only things that there's three things that are wrong. Number one, the owner isn't wealthy enough to build the kind of stadium he needs. That's number one. Number two, the council is, because they need to be reelected and they need to save face with the public, can't just whimsically say, yeah, we're going to give you this amount of money. They have a lot of things they have to weigh. And then the third one is the corporate support in Tampa for whatever reason. Like I said, whether it's personal, corporate, whatever, strategic, I don't know. But there is something wrong with how they're supporting the Rays in Tampa. And that, I have no idea how you sort out the root of that. Maybe you do have to get rid of Stu as an owner and then it works. I don't know. But I would love to see Tom Brady with a group purchase them. That would be outstanding. Oh man, I think he would sell it out. The season tickets would actually sell like hotcakes.
Oh man. Have him and Gronk do the introduction of the new team. Oh gosh.
Yeah, he could throw the first pitch in that new stadium.
Yeah, that would be perfect. That would be perfect. Hey, Brandon, you got any other offerings on that part as far as the ownership?
No, but I do want to say, because for other people that may not live in Tampa, but the Lightning and Bucks, you could just drive around town, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Mark. You'll see Go Bucks or Go Bolts banners or flags flying all over the place. But the only time on the Tampa side that I've ever seen a Raise Up banner was at a softball field around the corner from where I live. That I don't think I've seen anybody play there in a decade. That's the only Rays support I've ever seen.
Is that because of where they play? Is that because they're in St. Pete? Or is it Stu that's not investing in it? Isn't it the Lightning and Bucks wise? Is it the Lightning and Bucks that are doing it? Or is it other people that are doing it for them? I don't know the answer to those questions, but there's a lot of awkwardness when it comes to where they're situated and where the fans are coming from, I think.
I know the Lightning, well, I don't think they do it right now just because of the situation we're in, but they would go to like middle schools and elementary schools and hand out hockey sticks and teach kids the game and give them free ticket vouchers, and they'd try and grow the game that way. And I don't remember like the Rays doing anything like that. And I remember the Bucks would do something when I was little, but I don't remember exactly what that was either.
No, they do some reading with the Rays. And what I would like to see is those 30 business people who signed that letter endorsing the two-city program. I'd like to see what their commitment is to actually making it just stay here and what has been their commitment to date to the Rays. And
do you remember the Rays 100, the group that they had? I interviewed a good dozen of those, and none of them knew what they were supposed to be doing. There was no cohesion. There was no group organization that led them or that said this, that, or there's no leadership. There's nobody unifying the corporate support in Tampa. And I can attest to this because I spoke to all 12 of them. Not one of them had a clue what Stu wanted from them. Not one of them. They said, we were asked if we wanted to be part of this group. And we said, yeah. And we attended this meeting and that was it. That's it. That's all there was. And so when you see it fall to the ground from that, you're like, okay, well, to have corporate support in a city, you've got to be actively seeking it. And I don't think the Rays are at all.
I would question that as well. I think we would see more if that was the case. The most I see is them working with a couple of hospitals that are sponsors.
And again, that in turn feeds the questions that the fans have. What is Stu's motive in all this? If you're not investing in corporate in attracting corporate support in Tampa, which to him, putting the Tampa or Rays 100 group together shows that, oh, look, I tried. But no, you didn't, because you weren't actively doing it. You just set up a page and had a group show up. That was it. And I don't know. So that's what gives validity to that. And then where is he having his meetings? He's sending his president around, or his VP, and he's going around. Honestly, like, I could show that video to any business student that I went to school with in university, and they would tell you, what the frig is this? Like, it's embarrassing. If you're $1 billion organization and that's the best that you have to send out there to make presentations for your interests, you need to revisit your entire business plan, because you're setting it up for failure. Like, that was just an embarrassment. I'm sorry. And that never should have taken place, regardless of what his motives are. It just makes you look like badly run. And like you said, it's complete contrast to everybody down from that point. From Eric Neander down to the rest of the organization, it's the standard that all Major League Baseball wants to be. Like, they wish they could operate as well as the Rays do. So why can we get the same from the higher echelon?
Well,
I have no idea.
I tell you, I'm going to have a personal request of you and Brandon, and that's for both of you all to reach out to your buddies, Elon Musk and the Vinik family, and tell them we need new ownership. We've got an organization that works, but please, please, please come help us poor fans and revitalize this with an energy and with a corporate strategy and a respect that makes sense, because that's what this community needs. That's what the Tampa Bay Rays need to continue to grow.
If ever they get that, I no doubt in my mind that franchise will be middle of the pack in valuations. It'll be right there in the middle, 15, 16, somewhere around there, by maybe even higher. That's how much potential there is there.
I think TV ratings wise, they're always like number 1 or number 2 almost every night, just in TV ratings, even in the middle of the season.
Why fill a stadium if you don't have to do that? If you got enough TV money coming in, and if you got 2 places you're getting the TV money coming from, Montreal and Tampa, geez, never mind. I'm just getting angry.
Not last year, but the year before, their ratings were way higher than the Red Sox, for example. And so you would look at the people look at attendance and say, oh, well, the Red Sox had a much more successful season than the Rays in 2019. But in fact, when you look at the ratings, which is where, you can draw a lot more of your money from, the Rays were well above them. So, yeah, I don't know where it ends. Honestly, all I want to hear is progress, and it's not the Sister City thing. I want to hear progress in terms of, we're going to put a roof on it. It's going to be in Tampa. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a staple for the city, and we can just move on. And then they can do the expansion. I think the expansion, like, if you're getting strong enough attention from Nashville, Portland, Las Vegas, do a 4-team expansion. Go to 34 teams. Why not? Like, it's not going to hurt the game. It's going to spread the game even more. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? So why are they so tentative to grow the game? I don't understand that. And the blackouts.
oh gosh, don't even go there. Yeah, I know you're on the money once again, Matt. I tell you, brother. Well, that's what we need then. We'll talk Musk. We'll talk Vinik. Mm-hmm. We'll get hold of Mark Cuban. Who else should we get as a expansion owner? Got any other options?
There's Nike up in Portland. They want to. Yeah, they're the ones pushing that envelope. I don't know who's doing it in Vegas. I researched it once and I tweeted a little bit about it, but the group there is strong but quiet, I guess is the best way to put it.
I like that. Yeah. Holding their cards close to their vest. Matt, I do want to give you a chance to tell folks what you're doing these days and where they can find a little bit more about all that you're putting together.
Let me just say I'm in a period of transition. Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm kind of searching how I want to do things, and it may be more individual podcasts and streams that you'll find on Twitter. But again, Major League Baseball still has to earn their respect back because I'm so flabbergasted by this lockout that I don't know. Depending on how it goes, I might just end up, taking some time to reconsider my fandom, basically.
I can appreciate that. Hey, have you guys seen that the crypto commercial with Patrick Harris coming up to ATM type machine and putting a $20 bill into it?
No, I haven't seen that.
I have not.
He walks up to this. He's on stage and he's introducing crypto. And he takes the $20 bill. And he says, here. He says, now he puts the $20 bill in. And he says, and zam, it's done. Crypto. And I thought, that's kind of how I feel like a fan. I'm giving money to this organization, but I'm not actually seeing anything come back. I know digitally somewhere, Patrick Karras is happy because there's crypto somewhere. He's getting a piece of a coin. But right now, I feel like the first part of that, I'm putting the $20 in and I'm not getting anything back. And it's a hard time to be a fan. It's a hard time to buy merch. It's a hard time to watch the game when you're putting money into something and you're not being respected back.
You want to hear something funny that I realized just the other day? Because I was having conversations like this about the game in general, where it's headed. And I said, in the last 5 years, I've spent 10 times more money buying pitching ninja gear than I have buying anything from Major League Baseball. And that tells you everything you need to know about Major League Baseball and their marketing. Like, it's insanely horrible. Like, really, 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 really bottom of the barrel when it comes to sports leagues. The NHL does it better. NBA does it better. The NFL does it better. Everybody does it better. Some minor league teams do it better than the major league teams. So, I mean, what's wrong with them? What is going on? Who's advising them? Who's telling them they're doing a good job? And who isn't pointing out the potential that they're missing out on? Like, that's where it really gets me, is if I'm a billionaire owner, yes, I'm milking the system and I'm making enough money to make ends meet. Yeah, no doubt. But if I could get another billion because my merchandising is doing much better, then why wouldn't I seek that out? That, to me, is more important than locking out players and making the whole game look bad in the process.
I'm going to have to put the pitching ninja gear on my list, too. I keep looking at those hats. I love that logo.
That's awesome.
Hey, Brandon, any special thoughts? Maybe we can wrap things up here with any insights we should cover first?
No, I think we got everything covered on my end.
All right. Well, boys and girls, I can't thank you enough for joining Matt and Brandon and I today here on Baseball Biz. We talked a little bit about what's happening with the lockout, and we're going to all be checking our phones to see if anything actually does happen today, and we'll notify you of that. Last time Matt and I talked, we knew as soon as we finished the show, something breaking would come, and it did. I can't even remember what it was at this point, Matt.
It always seems to follow us.
It always seems to follow us. Well, man, I can't thank you enough, buddy, for joining us today, and I hope we get to talk with you real soon, too.
For sure. We'll be in touch.
Right. Okay, well, thanks again, folks, and you can find us on Twitter. You can find Brandon at no, that's me. You can find me at the Baseball Biz. Brandon, where do they find you at?
At Sports Blitz Pod.
And Matt?
At Matt _ Germain _
All right. Well, there you got it, boys and girls. And, of course, you can find us on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iPod, whatever it is. We're there. All the directories. So thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to talking with all of you all again real soon. Special thanks to XTake RUX for the music rocking forward.